It's so funny that the last time when we sat together in a room with mics on, it was actually 10 years ago when we when we were doing a show together on the radio.
10 years, huh?
10 years. And I could have just called you up and caught up with you, but I just like barged into your space with cameras and mics because I really wanted to have you on this podcast. So welcome.
Thank you, Loki. The honor is entirely mine.
I was just thinking, how should I start this podcast? Should I introduce you? Should I introduce myself? Because I mean, I hope that this podcast travels far and wide. But then I had a question based on how you introduce yourself. So if I were to ask you, Malu, how do you describe Malvika in a couple of lines? What would you say?
Um, I will start by saying currently,
Hmm.
because I'm a great believer that your identity changes, and I've seen it happen in my own life, right? The way I described myself 5 years ago is very different from the way I describe myself now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but currently I am a dramapreneur, a teacher at the Hive, a speaker and thinker, and a person who I think uh, wades through the world in my boat of words. I think that's
What do you mean?
like in the sense that I think a lot of my work actually has to do with words, right? It has to do with understanding text. It has to do with helping people voice their thoughts through words. It has to do with amplifying words. It has to do with giving words and taking words. And so, yeah, I think words are my way of looking at the world.
So it's interesting, I've been thinking about this for a very long time that every time somebody asks me also in an interview as to who Lokesh is, my first two, three lines are radio presenter on City 1016, podcaster, writer, and most of the people actually answer this question, letting the work that they do describe them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you also pretty much did.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder why people, we are much more than what we do. We are who we are, not what we do. I mean, what we do is just a part of it. Why do people describe themselves, introduce themselves with the work that they do?
I think in today's world, right, the way that we've been brought up and the way that school teaches you to aspire towards a college, and that college aspires you towards a career, and that career aspires you towards a company, and then so much of your identity becomes what you do, right? I was just talking about this yesterday to one of my kids. When I say kids, I mean students. Okay, I must qualify that.
That would sound very weird. Yes.
I was talking to one of my kids about just this, right? Like, I think you come to a point where in your life where you ask yourself, like, is my career really the definition of who I am? Is it my aspirations of what I want to do with my life and my goals? Because that's also problematic in its own way.
Right.
Is it my identity in my family? Should I start by saying I'm the daughter of Murli Vardhan and Vimla Vardhan?
Or the country you come from.
Or the country I come from.
Right.
Or like, who are you? And I think that's a big life question. But I think that the way that the world works right now is that a lot of who you are is defined by your work.
I think I also, because we live in a capitalist world, so I think we are constantly gauging how much power, how much clout, how much money the other person is making. And while introducing ourselves, we're also thinking whether we are leaving a good impression by telling them that, hey, I'm a media person, I'm a radio presenter, and this is the clout I have.
That's true. That's really true.
Right.
For some of us, I think it's about clout. For some of us, I think it's about purpose.
Right.
But I often think about my mother, yeah? So my mom worked in a bank for 30 years. I don't think she once in her life asked herself the question, am I passionate about what I do? Will I define myself as a Central Bank of India employee? Like, am I the model? I don't think she cared.
But would she introduce herself as a banker?
No, I think she would introduce herself as Vimla Vardhan, the mother of these two children, wife of so-and-so. So I think that, like, the position that work occupied in her life was you go to a place, you do some work, you make some money, and then you come back, and that money enables your life.
Right.
And that is what it was. And I meet a lot of young people nowadays whose question is not like, oh, am I passionate about my work? It's like, what is the highest paying job right now?
Right.
I will aspire towards that career.
Right.
And that money will allow me to travel the world.
So
or like
this is interesting what you're saying, because you introduce yourself keeping what is important to you, what your identity is. Like, for example, for Vimla Vardhan, her identity was the mother of two and the wife of so and so, and so that's how she introduced herself. So coming back to the question, we know that you're a drama educator at the Hive. You're running this place. You've been an ex-radio person. We have worked together on a show. But if I were to now ask you to choose 5 words to describe Malvika, like 5 adjectives to describe Malvika.
Oof.
What
would my 5 adjectives
yeah,
be?
and I want a combination of both positive, negative. And negative, when I say, I don't really want you to say, yeah, I'm a lazy person,
I'm definitely not a lazy person. Huh?
You're not. But you know what I'm saying? Like seemingly
Yeah.
negative. Oh, I'm a lazy person. A lot of people, I'm way too oversensitive, and that kind of goes against me. No, no, not those kind of adjectives. If you were to really think of a toxic trait of Malvika, I want one of them to be included in the list.
Okay, I'll give you phrases and not words. I
Okay.
think I'm somebody who really struggles to just be quiet every once in a while. And not voice every thought that's in my head. I
Which is
think
a good
that's
thing
one
or a
of my
bad thing?
that is one of my toxic traits. I mean, I don't know about toxic trait. I think toxic trait is an overused Instagram word, but I think that is one of my difficulties and challenges. I think I'm deeply adamant about a particular way in which I want to live my life, and that can be very frustrating for those around me also.
Hmm.
And I
Give,
think
give me an example, like when was the last time you were stubborn about your lifestyle and that kind of miffed one of the family members or a friend?
no, like for example, my pace at which I want to work or like
Hmm.
things that I want to do, like when I want to do something, I want to do it and I want to do it by this time and I want to like
Hmm.
I get very annoyed when something comes in my way, right? And so I'm a bit of a solo player like that, which is like I want to work at my pace and I want to work at the way I believe and I want to do me,
Yes,
me, me
I
all the
know
time.
this. I worked with you.
Yeah, that's true. If anyone knows, you know. Because there is no relationship more intimate than that of a co-presenter,
Oh,
a co-job,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But have you evolved? Because see, I totally relate to that. I also used to believe that, why are things not really going my way? But over a period of time, now that I've worked with like three, four presenters, co-hosted shows with so many people, I've realized that there's no really right or wrong way of doing it. There's my way or their way, and sometimes it's going to be my way, and sometimes it's going to be their way. Have you reached that space? Are you
No,
still?
because it's my way only here.
It's my way only. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
I want everything to run my way, my hive, my business,
So,
my.
control freak, can we call you that?
I think I am. Yeah, I think I do enjoy control.
Okay,
I do enjoy a lot of control
okay.
in many aspects of my life, and then there are some aspects where I'm like, chalega, it's okay.
Hmm,
Like, you
hmm,
do what you want to do.
hmm,
I think I'm definitely a curious person.
hmm,
I think I'm a very determined person. I think that is something that
hmm.
that I know for sure. I dig my heels into the ground and I will hang on to it and fight it to the bone, but I will get what I want. Like
No, which is true. I mean, you started this space during the pandemic. You took a loan and the pandemic hit and
yeah,
it was
it was big.
adverse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I have given you 5 words?
yeah. One
Almost.
one more.
One more, huh? Okay. I think I am fundamentally a positive and optimistic person. I think I'm a fundamentally optimistic human being.
Hmm,
I think also like the work that I do,
hmm.
I think people can learn things. I think that's a very optimistic way of looking at life.
No, fair.
That no matter what you're bad at, there's a way to train
Hmm,
yourself to be better at
hmm,
it.
hmm.
I don't think I think that's a very optimistic view of the world.
So optimistic, stubborn, adamant, positive, determined,
Curious.
curious. Nice. Six
Nice.
of them. Yeah.
Yes. Made it.
You know, I have to tell you this. When I was in
Mm.
school, the physics teacher, I think I must have been in eighth or ninth standard, my physics teacher was dating the vice principal of the school. Okay, and we were old enough, right? We were in eighth and ninth standard. See, you're getting scandalized. We were also getting
Ooh.
scandalized, right?
Juicy.
Juicy, right? The funny thing is that every time we went to, let's say, a hotspot or a market for dating and all that, we would spot these two as well.
So sweet.
Right now, I can say it was sweet, but back then, I was completely scandalized. It's my teacher and she's like dating the vice principal and what's going on? They had a torrid affair. Like it was not really sweet dating and all that.
Yeah.
You are an educator. You run this place. Are you ever conscious of how you're seen in public and how
Yeah, I am.
you are?
I am. I'm very conscious about it, but I'm also conscious about giving my kids the right. I don't lie to my kids, okay? I don't lie to them. Like I don't say something that is untrue. I like to be as honest as possible. Like,
Hmm.
and I don't. For example, the other day, actually, like I think we were discussing some piece of poetry or something like that, and I said, like for example, when I was going through a divorce, I was going through this. And suddenly I could sense like the air in the room go like, oh my God, she said the D word, dude. Like,
Really?
Yeah,
Kids
yeah.
these days even get scandalized. Today also they get
I know it's
scandalized.
scandalized, but look, I think that teaching theater and teaching writing and teaching speaking, for example, is a very intimate thing. It's not like teaching physics or chemistry,
Hmm.
right? So what it requires is for you to dig into personal human
Of
experiences because
course.
that's what you're doing now. You're
Of course.
asking ki, if you're going to read this piece as a sad person, where can I get that sadness
Absolutely.
from
I
and
mean,
so
I
on.
mean, drama is based on empathy and sensitivity. So,
And the human experience.
yeah.
And so very often we bring from our own lives,
Hmm.
you know, stories and bits of our own selves to the workplace. And I think sometimes that calls for you to be honest, and I try to be as honest as possible. But to answer your question, am I conscious of who I am for my kids? I think I am. Yeah, I think I am.
And so then shouldn't as a drama educator or as a teacher for that matter, shouldn't we tell our kids that teachers and doctors and engineers and parents and mothers and fathers are also human beings, and shouldn't we try to normalize? I think it's pretty much in our desi culture. When I have traveled to the US or for that matter Europe, kids there, they view their teachers and their mentors and their parents in in a slightly different way. They're not as scandalized with their parents, whatever, being intimate, or their teachers, having an affair. Shouldn't we then, as educators, shouldn't you as an educator have a conversation? Do you try to have a conversation with your
I
kids
do, I do,
and
I do.
normalize?
I do. I try to ask them open-ended questions. I try to inspire curiosity in them. I try to be honest in what I'm in the self that I am showing them. Right? I don't want to like pretend to be somebody who I'm not in class. And I think they really appreciate that. And I think the one thing that I know as a teacher that I bring to the table is that I bring a sense of honesty. Like I really talk to my kids like they're my equals. I never talk down to them. I don't refuse a question. I don't like, I try to explain it in the best way possible. But you're right. And I think, a large part of evolution as a human being is to start seeing your parents, teachers, your mentors, your guides as full human beings.
As human beings, as
I,
people.
I don't know, like, I think now at the age of 37, I see my mother now as a full human being. Like, so many years later, now I'm asking myself questions about how she raised us and what her experience must have been. But until pretty recently, I saw her as mum. And mum has a certain mum role,
True,
and
true.
dad has a certain dad role, and teacher has a certain teacher role. But I think it's important. It's part of their evolution to start seeing us as human
So
beings.
will we reach a point where Malika is like completely unabashed about who she is? Maybe going to a club and dancing on a table in front of her kids?
I don't go to clubs and dance at tables because I don't enjoy going to
Very
clubs.
capable of doing that,
I'm very
though.
capable of, but I'm honestly just too tired. And that's a factor of age.
No, don't evade the question. Would you do it though? Would
I
you?
would do it. Yeah, I would do it. I would do
In
it.
front of your kids, and yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I would. I would
Okay, cool.
definitely dance on a table.
Cool. That brings me to the next question.
Yeah.
Could we talk about your marriage? The podcast is called Lokesh Gets Personal.
Ooh.
And I'm going to get like as personal
Can
as
I get
possible.
personal with you then?
I mean, then
Okay.
you'll have to start your own. You'll have to start your own podcast, Malu. And we call Malavika Gets Personal.
I'll try to be as honest as possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And if you don't want to answer that question, see, I'm not coming from a place of titillated conversation. I'm not really here to like kind of get gossip.
I know you well enough to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really, really curious to know as a person. I've seen a lot of your interviews and everything, but I don't think so many people have really tapped into who Malvika is. So I really want to get there.
Sure.
Your marriage, right? You got married at the age of 21, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You got married pretty early, right?
As early as legally possible, I think.
Yeah, pretty much like right there.
Yeah.
Why did you get married? What were your reasons to get married? And if you could tell us how the marriage has affected your life, how the divorce has affected your life.
Okay. So I got married at the age of 21 to a person who, at that point, I truly believed that I was in love with. And I think that, when you're young, right, nobody ever gets into a marriage thinking that it's going to end. You always think that it's going to work out. You always think.
Sorry, I'm going to pause you here. You
Yeah.
said that you got married because you thought that you were in love with him. What were the three things about him that you completely thought were like, fantastic and that really made you fall in love with him?
Had an adventurous spirit, was seemingly very like a generous, large-hearted person. I'd like to have believed, and I think had a certain sort of way in which living life with this like bigness, right? Like this was this largeness in the way that he lived life. But anyway, I think more important than that, I think is the idea that when you get married, I think you go into it expecting it to work out, right? And I don't think anybody enters it with the intent of making it end. But I think
it's
a
not
large
a
part
job.
of it is also conditioning, right? Because you do what the script demands, like in the sense that you think that this is how a relationship is evolving. Chalo, I've been asked, and yeah, why not? Yeah. Sounds like a fun idea. Chill, we'll get married. What is it? We'll do. What is it?
Will you now, if somebody pursued you with same amount of passion, would you now give into a relationship just because you're being pursued? And of course, you kind of like a few things in that person, And would you be like just like that? Let's go,
No,
let's
no,
go.
no, no. I think on the other side of 37, I think I'm a lot more. I have a lot more questions, okay, and I think my priorities are very different. And I think the person who I am and the questions that I want to ask of my life partner are very different. And I think also, like, to me right now, more than passion and pursuing and all of those things, I think to me compatibility is important. I think the long run, like, am I able to have conversations with this person? How are we dealing with our differences? How are we dealing with our flaws and faults? How are we navigating the difficult task of bringing two human beings together for the foreseeable future and making joint decisions and occupying a certain real estate, whether that's like a physical real estate or like the real estate of life, right? Like, how are we navigating that? Those are more important questions to me now. I don't think I had the wisdom to ask those questions back at 21.
So tell me the three things that are completely non-negotiable now if you are getting into a relationship.
I think non-negotiables are respect.
Hmm.
Respect for the person that I am and all that I come with. And when I say all that I come with, I know I come with this big
Baggage.
bag of the hive. Okay, this is my work, this is my love, this is my passion, this is my baby actually. This is my child. So it's very important that you respect my child and you respect the needs of my child. Just the way that a single mom would entering a relationship would say, na, ki you cannot pretend that my child doesn't exist.
So by which you mean that you would be devoting like a large part of your time of your life to your baby, the hive,
Yeah.
and the person has to like kind of come around it
Understand
and respect that.
why, yeah, understand why I do what I do, understand and respect that, and respect the person that I am. I think that's a very important
Okay.
part of what's a non-negotiable for me. And I think that also, I think a lot of women who are at my age and currently looking at life partnership, you come to a point, yeah, and I'm going to say this as like, let's not get into like abstractions and stuff. I think as a woman who has gotten to a certain point in her life, I'm like, dude, I can pay my own bills, okay? I have my own house. I can run my ship. Everything's going fine. So what exactly are you bringing to the table? That's a very uncomfortable question to ask men in general, okay? Because I feel like you're what is the need for this other person in your existence?
True.
I think in the previous generation and the generations before us, it was very clear. I need financial stability. I need somebody to provide these certain things. I need somebody to fulfill the needs of being a father in this home. Similarly, I need a wife in my life because I need the home to be run. I need to make sure that the
Kids are well taken care of.
kids are well taken care of, food is cooked, clothes are ironed, whatever. But now,
No,
with
you're right.
fully functioning lives of our own, I think the one thing that a partner brings to the table is a kind of emotional presence, and something that is deeper, something that is more, you know?
You're so right, because I think men these days are struggling with that question, because back in the day we were hunters and gatherers and nurturers. Men would go and out and protect the family and
Yeah.
provide for the family, and women were like bearing children and looking after kids and running a family. And now the roles are like everyone is they're all earning, so men don't really know what value am I bringing to this relationship.
And it's calling for men to be more emotionally present. It's calling for them to be more, to ask themselves some pretty difficult questions, which is like, what am I bringing really? Really, what am I giving? What am I giving to this relationship? And I think with a certain kind of women, and I will not generalize, I think it's still a very small percentage statistically compared to the larger population. But I think for those women, the question is also like, you're asking the question like, is marriage still relevant? Do I still need this legal piece of paper? Do we need to? What really? Why?
Yeah, true. Also,
Why?
cool. So we've hit 2 points so far. One is, of course, respect for what you do, and secondly, be emotionally present and be an equal partner in the relationship. I would also say, since we're talking about it, we're also talking from a very urban, privileged sense of
Absolutely.
point of view. Not
Yeah.
everyone is running.
0.0001%.
Exactly. There are a lot of women who are still at home and who are still looking after the family and all that. I think even in those situations, women should demand an equal part of the salary, of the man's salary, because I think women who are at home are also doing as much work, if not less or more. So I think that's unpaid. Cooking, cleaning, looking after the kids, raising kids, that's a full-time job, and nobody realizes that. That's like just kept aside and dismissed as domestic work. But I think women housewives should also demand a part of the man's salary because, boss, I'm
I think
bringing a lot to the
it
table.
goes a lot beyond that, Loki. I think it goes a lot beyond that, and I'll tell you where I come from on that subject. Okay, so I've been reading and listening a lot to this woman called Claudia Golden, who is the Nobel
Nobel
Prize
Peace Prize.
Nobel Prize winner for economics for this year, the first woman
Right.
to have won it on her own. She talks a lot about the gender pay gap and about why women are not earning as much as men, and like the question of hours and the question of couple equity and gender equity in the home and how important that is in the workplace. Okay, so I think it comes back to something quite different. Now, let's say hypothetically, I decide to get married and I decide to stay at home. Now, I'm putting my career on a pause, okay, and I'm sacrificing a certain career growth and financial independence in order to make this home function.
Right.
Okay, and this is an unpopular opinion because I don't think anybody wants to talk about this kind of stuff. It's like, God, you have to be so transactional. It's just love, for heaven's sake. Is there no such thing as just a couple being together? Like, so I think it's unpopular. But anyway, if you were in the workplace, right, what would happen is that you would negotiate a certain salary. Then after 1 year, there'll be an appraisal, and then you'll go to your boss and you'll say, look, dude, I aced the game on these counts, and therefore you give me a 10% hike, or you give me a 5% hike, or this is my non-negotiable, or I'm going to not.
Fair.
Okay, so let's for a second imagine this as an actual functioning business, right? Now, in the home, let's say you've negotiated to have a certain allowance which is given to you, okay, as a housewife. What happens after 1 year? When you know that the company is making more money, are you then putting yourself in a position where you can go and negotiate and say, hey, bro,
Oh, absolutely.
last year you were giving me 5K a month.
100%.
Now I think I should be making 6K a month.
Yeah.
But have we equipped women with that question? Number one.
Yeah, we've
Number
not.
two,
This is not even a conversation.
it's not even a conversation. Yeah. Number two is that, okay, out of this 6K allowance that you're giving me, that is actually money to run the business, right? The way, like, a member of my team, for example, if they're given a certain marketing budget, they're not going to say, wow, I got a marketing budget, like I'm happy with that. No, you're not. You're also getting a salary, which is for you to be you. That is for you to keep aside, and that is your stash for your goals and your needs.
100%.
Shouldn't a woman then be able
Absolutely.
to negotiate similarly? Okay, so that's question number two. I think question number three is, what happens, should there be a full declaration of the amount that you are both stashing in your private accounts? Should there be private accounts? Question number one. Question number two, should there be secret stashes that you don't declare to the other person? Or are we expecting full transparency? I think these are just very uncomfortable conversations, but they must be had.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with everything that you have said. I feel first of all, we need to have the start of the conversation because we are yet not there. I think this whole idea of housewives demanding a certain salary is in itself such a radical idea and maverick idea for so many people to even digest. But I think the nitty-gritties of all these questions that you talked about should be discussed. But at the same time, I feel there would also be personal decisions that a couple would make, whether they are going to have secret accounts, whether they're going to,
Absolutely.
So-
And
so it
I'm totally, I 100% believe that every couple should dictate this for themselves, much like you decide what you have for dinner.
pretty much.
Your Rajma
Pretty
Chawal
much.
and my Rajma Chawal will taste different.
But I think, yeah, but the start is to have this
To have the conversation.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Cool.
That's just my point.
Okay, I think we've kind of so far covered as to what kind of a partner you're looking for and what kind of qualities you're looking for in your partner. Are you dating someone?
Hey, you're getting personal.
Lokesh gets
I cannot answer that question.
Oh, don't be that boy, yeah, say it, no? Are you? Because one of your last posts said not legally single woman. So I wonder what that
Well, I'm not. I'm still legally single as we record this podcast. Not maybe when somebody's watching it, but yeah, I'm currently legally.
You're not telling me, yeah?
No, I'm not telling you.
Say. Okay, so
Then you'll ask me who. Then I'll have to tell
I
you
won't.
who,
Okay,
then all this.
okay, I won't. But are you like dating someone? And is that person interesting?
Of course.
Is this
As if I
person-
will date an uninteresting person,
Eh,
Loki.
No, I mean, maybe you're just like, like testing waters and stuff. So
No, I think I'm currently navigating relationship. Let me put it that way. I'm navigating relationship.
cool.
Navigating equal partnership is a better way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm navigating.
Are
equal
you
partnership.
wary of navigating through
Of course
relationships?
not, yeah. At 37, so you're very, even if you're buying a car or you're buying an outfit,
Why,
or
why I
if
asked
you're,
that question because one of your relationships did not really work. So
Yeah.
does that have an effect on?
Of course.
It
Of course it
does.
does. Yeah, of course I'm wary. Of course I come with several more questions. Of course I come with a lot more I mean, I think I come just with a lot more experience.
Fair.
Quite simply, I mean, I keep going back to this business analogy, right? But today, Loki, if you were being hired by another radio network, your demands, your questions, your negotiations would be very different than when you walked in to your first radio network, right?
True. I don't know if it's a fair analogy because relationships work a little differently from
They
just
do.
striking a
Of
job
course they do. But
transaction.
what I mean is that negotiating and navigating a relationship is is similar for work. It's similar for friendships. It's similar for home
I hear you.
and even your parents, children, whatever, right?
One quick question on the relationship bit. Do you think it is difficult for a 37-year-old woman who is married? Do you think men are kind of prepared to date someone who has a history like you? Like, does it come in the way?
Do they have the stomach for it, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I tell you what, Desi men have been conditioned in a certain way, I feel. And I still know a lot of men who wouldn't really date someone who's divorced and all that. Does it come?
You do?
Oh,
That's a thing.
So many of them. Oh, so many of them.
Okay. No, I think the kind of people that you meet when you're older and when you know, are obviously expecting a certain. I don't think I meet these kind of people. I mean, what I mean is that if a person like me was out looking to find love, I don't think I would be meeting people who would. I think that is the algorithm just doesn't show that to me.
Okay, fair. And
like that.
And do men get intimidated by the fact that you're running a successful business and all that? Does that happen?
I hope not. No, I mean, I think it is intimidating. Yeah. I think it is a little intimidating. I think it's not intimidating about you running a successful business. I think it's more intimidating of like, here's a person who kind of knows what they want or have certain demands or like we go back to the need question, right? What is the need that I'm then fulfilling? And as long, I mean, I think it's a great way to start a relationship because you're getting straight to the crux of it.
Right. And then do you feel the need to like kind of minimize yourself because women tend to do that?
No, absolutely not.
Not.
No. I think
So
I cannot, yeah. I cannot like I cannot minimize this. This is what it is.
That
right?
brings me to the next question because I think you can and you do.
Minimize myself.
Yes, and I will tell you, I wanted to ask you, why are you so bad with compliments, with taking compliments? I have worked with you for almost like 10 years, and every time I told Malavika that you're wearing a lovely top, oh, da, this is 40 dirhams, da, this is very cheap, da. You're carrying a nice bag, oh, this is a gift, da, you're looking good. This morning only when you came, I said, you're looking really nice. Da, I haven't put makeup, da, I'm looking homeless, da. Why? I feel, okay, so here's my thing, like you have a lot of fundas and I have a lot of fundas as well. So here's how I read it. I think it's because people who can't really take compliments, and I think I'm one of them, but I've really worked hard on this. It's one, a personality thing, and the other one is definitely a gender thing. I think women tend to kind of minimize themselves and, put the focus on the other person. That's a very gendered thing. In your case, it could be both. As far as your personality is concerned, I think you're a very confident person. You're a very self-assured person in most departments, but I think when it comes to the way you look, you are a little conscious of that. And every time somebody comments on the way you look, you become conscious and you try to deflect that. So is that true? Because because we started the podcast and the first and the only instruction she had for our camera person is, John, just make me look hot.
Yeah, make me look hot, huh, John? Like
your camera is
am I looking amazing? Am I looking amazing? Oh my God, sorry. Am I looking amazing, guys? Am I looking amazing? No. So to answer your question, right, I think, look, I was raised in a home where in sum total, the entire family, okay, had one lipstick. Okay. So I was raised in a home where looks were not a thing. And it was not something that you worked on and that you were complimented on. And I don't think anybody's was, you are beautiful was not a thing in my house. Okay. You are smart was a thing. You have worked hard was a thing. You have achieved success in your test, or you're intelligent, or you are singing well, or you are dancing well, or whatever was a thing. But I think that hey, looks like, come on, yeah. I don't want to be my sum total of my whole life cannot be my lipstick shade.
Correct. Correct.
So hence I'm wary of it. Not to, and I don't want to take away from the fact that like, thanks. I mean, I'm beautiful.
You don't have to, but you can give a polite thanks for sure.
I know. I'm just joking.
But you don't need to. Like,
you know what I mean, right?
Say, no, I'm not beautiful. This is 40 dirhams. This is free. This is homeless. What is this? Just say thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Now mean it.
Thanks.
Okay.
My dazzling smile.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is a segue into the next question.
Uh-huh.
Have you faced body issues as well? The you know your weight issues and all that. Is that because I know back in the day it was a thing, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
Uh-huh. Go
weight
ahead.
you're like kind of struggling with gaining weight and losing weight, and I know you at one point in time you were pretty fixated on you really wanted to work it out and then just like shed all the extra kilos and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm also currently doing that, by the way. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so two questions.
Huh.
One, how have you struggled with it?
Mhm.
And two, I feel this that fat is not a bad word. Fat is just an adjective. Tall, dark, fair, thin. These are just adjectives, and I think people should not take offense. Of course, the way it's said, and of course, how the society has. Of course, that affects your psyche and that affects you deep in the core. But I'm saying, if I was a fat person um, and somebody called me fat, I would be like, yes, I am fat. I think a lot of people struggle with it because they have internalized that fat is bad, or dark is bad, or thin is bad, or fair is bad. So, do you think you have internalized uh, fat shaming issues yourself, and that's the reason you feel bad when somebody calls you fat?
Good question. So I I mean, look, how do I answer this? Do I do I like would I be upset if somebody came up to me and said, "Oh my God, you're so fat"?
Or if not
Um,
that tone, I mean, that is a very, very condescending tone.
yeah.
But I'm
If they were
saying,
to say, "Oh my God, Malavika, you're like,"
no, I'm saying just a matter of fact. Hey, you put on weight, yeah? You're looking fat. With no whatever. It's a
yeah,
fact.
it is deeply internalized. I would go home and be like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Like, that's not cool.
yeah.
Also, because I am kind of obsessed with this whole health weight thing, right? So, I mean, that's a me thing.
No, it's
That
not really
doesn't mean
nobody's born with that notion. It's the
correct. I
society and
agree.
the
It's
conditioning.
it's a conditioning, and it's been put in
Hmm,
whatever through whatever channels of content that I have consumed, whether
hmm,
it's the people around me or whether it's the conversations I've been a part of, or it's life on with with a camera stuck in your face.
hmm,
So I think that a lot of that, yeah, of course, it's been internalized. Yeah,
hmm,
of course, it's been internalized. I
hmm.
mean, I think.
Now that you identified that it has been internalized, do you think that you would be able to navigate through this in a better way and not judge yourself?
I think mm, I don't know whether I would like not if for example I couple of years down I mean why couple of years down the line a few months ago actually I came back from this holiday in Italy and France and all that. I've eaten like enormous amounts of pizza and pasta and like
Hmm.
maida and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And I came back and I had put on a couple of kilos. Okay, and I was really upset about it. I
Hmm.
was really upset. I was like, this is not cool. Like, I
Hmm.
cannot have climbed Kilimanjaro
Hmm.
and then in that same year have put on 5 extra kilos from nowhere. It upset me. So I got on a plan and I got a trainer and I started like working out. And even today, like I delayed this podcast because I went to the gym first and I finished my workout, my kickboxing, and then I came here because that is the kind of person I am. Because if I find a number and I find like I want to do a thing,
Hmm.
I will do that thing. I will like
Hmm.
push myself to the brink to do that thing. Now, it does not mean that I have the same view for everybody else, but look, I really have to say this, okay? Health is important. I understand that fat and health is not the same thing,
Hmm.
but it is so, so important. It is important in the way that you show up um, in the workplace. It's important in the way that you show up in relationships. I think it defines the kind of energy that you have in which you move through the
Absolutely.
day.
Absolutely.
And if it means that you've got to get up and keep a goal for yourself, and I think it affects you like mentally. I think your mental health is also largely affected by the kind of physical activity you do, and there's enough study and research to
I,
prove
I
it.
I do hear you, and I think every time I have this conversation with people about fatness and body shaming and all that, a lot of people take the same route, advocating health, and like you said, fat and health are not the same thing. Uh, but I feel like the Malu that I know,
Mm.
that's not even the first or the last thing, and that's not even a thing that strikes me about how you look. For me, Malu is ambitious, is intelligent, is opinionated, and those are the things that kind of define Malu. So
Mm.
I feel and this happens again with a lot of women that they define themselves by the way they look, and I think and like I said, because it is so internalized that they start judging themselves and also start judging other women and other men, because of the way they look. So I think that is something interesting to look into.
Yeah, sure, it is interesting to look into, no doubt. But I think women have a long way, have a lot of more work cut out for them than men do, you know. And
Hmm.
I don't know, and I only know ambitious, empowered women.
Hmm.
Every single woman I know is ambitious, empowered.
Hmm.
I also know that every single woman that I know, at some point in her day,
Hmm.
looks at the mirror and goes, "Oh God, man, I really need to do something about this.
I
What
know.
is with these
I know.
thighs?"
Really
You know,
saddens me.
and it's is it really? I mean, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. Yes, it does sadden you.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to just take control of your health. Full
Oh,
stop.
absolutely.
Full stop.
Absolutely.
Like just
But
whatever it
it's
means, you
also
know.
important to like kind of differentiate between health
It's a hard
and body shaming.
it's a hard job, Loki. It's
Yeah,
so
it is.
many
It is.
decades and
Yeah.
decades of conditioning. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to be able to
Absolutely.
shake it off.
No, no, and also historically, right? So women who were a certain shape were thought of better childbearers and nurturers, and that's the reason there's so much of focus on the way the woman looks.
I'll tell
You
you
know,
this, yeah. I'll tell you this. When I work out and when I do my whatever this 1 hour in the gym and when I'm in my best shape and health wise, I also bring a very different energy to the classroom.
of course.
And I'm able to like sit and stand and move and jump and play and like do stuff physically.
And it's all science. There's lots of endorphins in the morning because of
Exactly.
your workouts.
Yeah.
You perform
And it's
better.
not just endorphins. I mean, just the physical ability. My work is not one where I'm going to sit and punch numbers on a laptop.
Right.
I'm moving and I've got to match the energy of my kids and I've got to be able to run a 7 hour day in class without like, okay, guys, now you do, I'll just watch. You know, I can't. Yeah, I can't.
Fair,
And that
fair,
bugs me.
fair.
I have to get my act together. Like,
Fair,
that's my thing.
fair.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your biggest fear, Malu? I know we lost uncle like last year, right? And I think one of the biggest fears for you, I would assume, because I've known you for so many years, was this constant fear of losing uncle kind of loomed large for all these years, right? Now that we have lost him, what is your biggest fear now, and how are you dealing with the grief that hit you last year?
Okay, so the grief that hit me last year was, yeah, sure, it was a tremendous loss, and I feel uh, the fear of losing my dad, okay, was not as big as the fear of the fact that he was going through such tremendous pain and torture on a daily basis. So I think what doesn't happen in a lot of households, Loki, and I think that my household is very different in that way, is that for us, death was dinner table conversation. We talked about death all the time because my dad was sick for 25 years, and I think it was 2013, 2014 when he was diagnosed with cancer. So it was a constant. Now, when a fear is a constant,
Part of your
right? It's
lives.
a constant part of your life. I think you start learning how to talk about it in a different way. And I don't know whether, you know, there's a certain kind of narrative around, oh my God, the fear of losing dad and the fear of losing my parent. And it panned out very differently for dad and me and for my family and mom and Manisha. Um, because for us, I think towards the last 6, 8 months, it was like, okay, what can we do to walk him to the finish line with as much dignity and with as much comfort as possible? And the way that my dad passed away was absolutely beautiful. Like it was amazing. It was. It sounds horrible. I mean,
No, no, it doesn't sound horrible
yeah.
at all. It
Actually, I
doesn't
shouldn't
sound
say that.
horrible.
It doesn't sound horrible. Okay, so here's what
I
happened.
totally hear you. I mean,
My this was post pandemic. Okay, so you remember how panicked we all were. No, my dad had a respiratory condition that put him in, like, he was very susceptible to infection, and he, like, oh my God, if he had gotten COVID, that would have been like so unbelievably difficult on my family, because how would he have managed? And he had all of these other conditions. So he had cancer, stroke, a bunch of other things, right? Now, in the last 6 months, my sister went down to meet him as much as she could. I went down to meet him as much as I could. We did multiple holidays. We knew he was in a lot of pain. 2 days before he passed away, my aunt called me and said, like, hey, listen, it's sounding pretty bad. I think you got to come down. And I went down. I met him. He was really struggling. He was in a lot of pain. I was doing an online class at that time because I didn't want to cut class. Okay, we had just started a new term, so I don't want to cut class. I finished my class, and sharp 8:45, I finished my class. I went and I sat by his bedside and I held his hand and I said, Dad, just go. It's okay. We are fine. Just, you know, in that Dylan Thomas poem, which is Do Not Go Gentle into that dark night. I said that, but I was saying to him, go gently into that dark night. Do not rage against the dying of the light.
Mm.
Just don't. Why? Why are you fighting?
Mm.
It's a lot more beautiful there. We'll be fine. We're okay.
Mm.
And I held his hand and I literally closed my eyes and said, "It's okay, Dad. It's okay. You don't have to struggle anymore."
Mm.
I know it sounds like as if it's some Bollywood movie, okay, but I physically like closed my eyes, I opened my eyes, and he was gone. And it was like I walked him to the finish line, I walked him into the light, and I said, "Cool, I'm going to meet you soon, okay? Take care of yourself. Bye." And I left.
Yeah, that's a beautiful goodbye.
And that was awesome. I was like, wow, there was no doctor, there was no resuscitation, there was no pushing and pulling and like nurses and needles and just the stuff that my family had to deal with for 25 long years, man. There was none of
No,
that.
no, you're so right because the struggle went on for 25 years. My father died of cancer as well, and he was in the hospital for almost a year. And there was a sense of relief, after he was gone. Of course, there's a sense of loss and there's tragic and all that. But at the same time, both mom and I remember 2 days before dad went, he became delirious. He wasn't able to recognize any one of us. And both mom and I looked at each other. We were in the ICU and we both looked at each other. And I was like, what, mom, if we lose him? And she was like, yeah, there was like a sense of relief in her eyes. And we genuinely felt because, the family also struggles with an ailing person, and your struggle went on for good 25 years.
Yeah. And should I really? Actually, my mom struggled because she was the primary caregiver.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Like, so who am I to take on that?
I'm so happy that you're talking about it because it kind of normalizes, conversations around death.
It's so important
yeah,
to have.
yeah,
Loki, it's so important
yeah,
to have
yeah.
because I think that we don't talk about it.
Yeah,
We see death as a thing you need to fight,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you don't need to fight
yeah,
death.
yeah.
You just need to like
It
contend with it. Like just sit with it.
the moment dad passed away and I came to the recovery room and we were just sitting and all that, we were waiting for the reports to come and all that. And as Bollywood as it sounds, there was a poster on the hospital wall. I've been visiting this hospital for a year at end, and that's the only day when I saw that poster. It said, "Death is not the end of life, it's the completion of life." And that just stayed with me that he's completed his innings here, on earth. And that kind of gave me so you're so right, you should look at it as a matter of fact, and then just like have normal conversations around it.
Yeah, as much as possible. Look, it's very scary to lose a person, and very scary. And I don't want to take away from that, but I think that like it's been very different for my family, and I think there's a deep knowledge, and of course this is not founded in any science, but I truly believe that my dad has turned into light and energy, and I feel his presence everywhere I go. There's not a day that I don't think about him. There's not a day that I don't like wonder what he would say about this argument I had today, or like what he would say about this and that. And I think the script is it. That's the beautiful thing about love is that he filled me with so much of unconditional love and so much of that I already know what he would think. Like my internal engines are already tuned to that.
Fair.
To that, right? And everything I do in life will be in tune with that starting note.
So, what's your biggest fear now?
My biggest fear now? Wow, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I honestly I don't have an answer to that question. I want my mom to lead a happy
Which she is.
decade.
6 countries in one last year, 6 big travels.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do a podcast with my mother.
I want to.
She is an epic woman.
I really want to.
She's learning swimming, she's learning French. She hula hoops, much to the embarrassment of everyone in the house.
Absolutely not. I think
in front of anybody, she will just put on her hula hoop.
How we would tell kids ki beta hula hoop karke dikhao. Aajkal we're telling parents ki auntie zara hula hoop karke dikhao.
That's so cool. No, she's learning piano. She learned swimming very late in life. Late, whatever that means. She's learning French. She's traveling 6-7 countries in a year.
I think
she's rocking it, dude.
She is, man.
She's rocking it.
Yeah. Okay, last few questions. Are you a spender or a saver? What's your relationship with money?
Because no, I'm not a spender.
You're not a spender. You're a saver.
I actually have nothing to spend.
So it's a two-part question. Basically, what's your relationship with money? And secondly, you were in a 9-to-5 job with a proper salary at the end of the month. And now that you are running a business and other people's salaries are dependent on you, you're also like kind of navigating commerce with passion, right? So how has your relationship with money changed over last 4-5 years?
Okay, I'm definitely a very ambitious person, and I mean I'd like to think that I'm good at business. My relationship with money is that, look, for me, the things that I enjoy spend, I used to have to buy like lots of clothes and, go shopping and spend money on all these like random extravagances while my life was on radio and television. Now, not so much anymore. I wear sweatshirt and jeans, same three clothes to class every day, and no kid cares, which is amazing. It's just the best thing ever. The only thing that I really spend money on is books. Yeah, I buy like an inordinate number of books irrationally. And I spend a lot of money on travel. These are the only two things that I like feel ki, just buy it.
But
Just
are
buy
you,
it.
are you still that middle class child trying to
I'm
like?
constitutionally middle class, I feel. Of course, my team believes otherwise. Yeah. So they accuse me of being very bougie because I don't go to like day to day to shop and all because I find it too overwhelming. Like I can't deal with so much of, crowd and this and that. So sometimes I
But
make unwise choices.
You would go to Savannah or an MTR to have breakfast or lunch, but you wouldn't really go to a fine dining place, but you wouldn't go to a day-to-day center and go to a
Yeah,
mall.
I find places like this, this global village mall on the weekend, too many people, too much chick and like noise and lights and
Savannah also has a lot of people, and so does
no, but
MTR.
Sarvana also has idli sambar, no?
That compensates.
See, idli sambar trumps everything else.
So maybe day-to-day center should start serving at least summer for you to walk
God
in.
no, please just don't. Just don't. I won't go. It's fine. We will just not. So no, I don't spend a lot of money on things, okay? And I think that it's really important. It's a very important part of why I was able to why I'm able to do what I do actually is interesting, Loki, because when I was planning to quit radio and start doing this entrepreneurship gig, right? My sister gave me a very wise piece of advice, which was to sit down and just ask yourself how much does your life cost? What does your life cost, really, in all actuality? So sit down and put down your non-negotiables. Now, maybe for some people, that non-negotiables is being able to buy 10 pairs of sneakers a month or being able to like shop at designer brands, and that's fine. And that's fine. Like that's your jam, right?
Right.
So for me, my jam is that I must always have enough money in my bank account to be able to take a flight to go see my parents. I mean, at the time,
Parents.
my parent. I must have like enough money to be able to like go into a Blossom bookstore in Bangalore and say one of everything. Okay, these are my needs. And what is my life cost? Like I can only sleep in one bed. I can only eat 3 meals a day. So this was my number,
Also
right?
preparing for future, right? Because you'll be working to a certain point in time.
Yes.
That fear is constantly playing on
But
your.
what is really important is that because I was able to fundamentally devise that number, I was able to understand that I actually have the ability to take risks. Because I don't need to pay for 7 children's school fees behind me. I don't.
Fair.
These are things I don't have to worry about. So
Fair.
I have the appetite to take the risk.
Fair.
So then jump. Like
Fair.
you are privileged, yeah, to be able to like not.
That's
not
pretty
have to worry
interesting
about it.
because being middle class, being wary of how you spend money, you're still able to take risks. So that's pretty.
Because I am middle class and wary of the way I
What-
spend money, I'm able to take larger risks with the Hive, right? I'm able to like say it's okay, and not just risks. I think sometimes even things like as simple as this, right? So for example, this year at the Hive, we've given out over 50,000 dirhams worth of scholarships. Now those are choices I can choose to make because I'm not worrying ki, but that money could have gone to pay my child's school fees. So that is stuff as an entrepreneur that I don't have to worry about. So I have the ability to take these risks
Fair,
with the business,
fair,
and make
fair.
these choices with the business. So yeah,
Last question. Is arts political?
everything is political.
Yeah.
What you're wearing is political.
Yeah, this is very political because it's got an American flag on it. It is as political as it gets. I was reading a very interesting article that said that
Your nose
art,
ring is political.
art, how is that political?
Because the subject of gender is an extremely
So this is
political,
gender politics.
stereotypes, and
Absolutely.
yeah, it's very political.
So I was reading a very interesting article about how art doesn't necessarily have to be political, but the fact that the person that you are, your politics always reflect. So my politics is reflecting in the nose ring that I'm wearing, in the jacket that I'm wearing. No, not really the jacket, but I mean, yeah, that will call for another podcast altogether. But what you do is also very close to art, drama, public speaking, and all that. Is art political? Um, and how do you manage? Because you are dealing with parents, and those are your consumers and clients. And if they are on the other side of your politics, does that scare you?
Does it scare me?
Or are you?
The politics of the world currently scares me, full stop. Okay, because I
But
think that it's a world where we're so polarized that we cannot sit down and have a conversation about anything. As a dear friend says, like everybody's making up their opinions with Twitter. 168 characters, and now you've got an opinion on everything, and everything has to be amplified, and everybody has a voice, and everybody's got a billboard. And the politics, the way it currently stands in the world, scares me. Okay, I think the way governments are functioning scares me. I think the way people are being voted into power scares me. Full stop. Is my art political? Is the work that I do political? I think everything everybody does is political. And there are trade-offs that you make. You do make trade-offs in business. There are certain pieces that I might want to perform, but I don't think that we are capable of performing because we would be shut down or whatever.
Fair.
There's certain subjects that I would like to, make tall claimants and podcasts and
Fair.
stuff on, but I can't.
So there are
And
issues
then
that you want to talk about, but
and
you
there are some that I find ways to.
so you push the envelope.
I do.
As in
I
when
think
you
the important question, the very, very important thing that I do at the Hive consistently, constantly, doggedly, like with every fiber of my being, is I question and I get kids to question. I am constantly questioning them and I am constantly getting them to question me. And I think that this is one of the biggest, most important things you can give your children, is giving them the ability to question the status quo.
Absolutely.
And not see the world as a pro against, and not see the world as a debate. So my fundamental problem with the way that we function in schools is everything is for and against, but it's not always for and
Black and
against.
white, yeah.
Sure, it's important for you to understand the against to your falls. It's important to understand the falls to your against, but it is not as, I mean, I think we need to also equip children with seeing multiple perspectives and being able to ask intelligent questions, and to be able to ask deeper questions, to just dig.
So why I asked you that question, I remember a couple of years ago, I had put up on my Insta stories my political views, and you came to me and you said, "You are so brave, Loki. You're so brave." So I was like, "Why? What do you mean?" And she's like, "No, I don't think so. I can put up, my political views and opinions on social media platforms because I'm dealing, with people with all kinds of sensibilities, and there's business at the end of the day.
There's business at the end of the day, and there's mouths to feed."
So does that fear then kind of hold you back from putting your opinions across?
I do, because I'm human, and to me, Hive is my baby, right? And I will do what I have to protect my baby.
Right.
And if it means that I have to keep my mouth shut about certain political subjects, I will.
Right.
But when I have the ability to speak, I will.
Right.
So I think
and
that's
influence.
a constant trade-off, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the Hive, the kind of conversations that you're having with kids definitely makes a huge difference. And that's, I think, for the lack of any better word, it is so bloody inspiring. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Lucky. I try.
yeah. So I think we've spoken already for 1 hour now.
Yes, sir. My God.
You want to go have some breakfast to MTR or Sarvan or day to day?
Yesterday I had masala dosa, so now my calorie count is like.
Ayo, don't do this, yeah. Please, I've come all the
my
way.
one cheat meal for the week is over.
Okay, you just have sambar. I'm going to gorge on all the dosas and the utpams and all that.
I hope I've given you personal enough answers.
You have, and I feel, I hope that we see like a different side of Malavika that has not been explored. Do you think that you have spoken about things that you haven't spoken about before? Does it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
And also, I hope that the viewers get a certain perspective on the things that we have spoken about, because I'm deeply interested in gender dynamics and equality. So I hope there's something for everyone.
There's a lot. I don't think it's a conversation that can happen in an hour, right? Like I think it's. I hope that it's inspired someone. Not inspired. I think inspired is such a self-important word.
No, but at the same time,
I
it's
think
important as
it's,
well. I think most of the times people who are capable of inspiring are always self-doubting whether we can inspire or not, and people like, okay, I'm not going to take names, but
now get personal.
Andrew Tate.
Now get personal, Loki.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate is not watching your podcast. Then it will be political.
But all his lovers are going to come to me, right? Come at me, right? So people who don't really have interesting opinions or not informed opinions are the ones who are so like confident about it. So
that's true. That's true. I mean, many people must be thinking we also have tall claimants and not fully researched arguments.
Fair.
So multiple perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Listen, I love you. Okay.
Love you too, Loki.